Fears episode. He didn't put the episode number we're at. I think we're at like 63 or something like that. 64. My VA completely forgot to do that. But dude, Josiah, my man, I am so glad you're here. Guys, people don't know this. Josiah, you were my first mentor ever. You were like my very, very, very first real estate mentor, right? Because I joined Astro Flipping back in the OG days when Josiah was running the calls, right? So anyways, man, bro. Back in the day when I didn't even know what an assignment was, I'm like, what do you mean by a double close? What is a double close, Josiah? Back like 3 years ago. So Josiah is amazing, guys. He is the CEO of Keyglee. Jamil is the face. He's running around doing all sorts of stuff. And then Josiah keeps the ship running. So just real quick, Josiah, for the people that don't know you, like, who are you? Like, what do you do at Keyglee? Are you actually just the puppet master? People want to know.
That's awesome. I love it, dude. Actually, bro, as of like 2 weeks ago, I'm now the chairman of Keyglee, and Hunter Rumney is the CEO. Yeah.
What does that mean? Explain that to people.
So, okay. So honestly, I think it's super exciting, man. So Hunter is extraordinarily talented. One of the founding 4 members of Keyglee. Bro, at one point, I think I even had this in Astro, but Hunter was 18. He did 50 deals without taking a phone call when he was 18 years old. Right, in 1 year. Yeah, I know, dude. So the dude is like, he's like a prodigy / quant. Now, obviously, this is, 7, 8, 10, whatever years later. So he's also got some really good executive chops as well now, but extremely talented, extremely smart. And so basically what it looks like for me is and also the reason why we chose chairman for my position is because, bro, honestly, like I love Keyglee to death. And so I'm like, all right, so Hunter, is it cool if I just still come to this meeting? Hunter's like, oh my God, right. But yeah, dude. So both Hunter and I are deeply involved in Keyglee operations, right? Which is everything from the franchising operations and franchise success and fulfillment. And then also on the corporate store side of things, where we're kind of building out, testing new things and growing those markets. So it's a blast, dude.
What's the difference between a chairman and a CEO? Like, I sort of know what I think of with a chairman is like a dude sitting back in a leather chair, just being like, I did it. I'm good. I'm smoking my cigars, hanging out with my family. All I do is just get investor money. Maybe, I don't know. Like, what does a chairman do versus the CEO? Just so people know.
Great question, dude. So the conventional divide between CEO and chairman is normally the chairman is the head of the board, right? And so the board elects the CEO and passes down policy to the CEO, right? Mm-hmm. And so the chairman is the one that runs the board, right? The CEO and is the one that chooses the CEO, right? And so generally the board or a committee at the board is going to choose the compensation for the CEO. They're going to choose if they fire the CEO. They're going to be the ones that hire the new CEO or are involved in that process. And then they're going to lay out policy, right? Like, these are the different policies for how we want this to run. These are some, and kind of direct those things at the board level and pass that to the CEO. Then the CEO runs the company, right? So everyone in the company reports up to the CEO. They don't report into the board. Right, but the CEO reports into the board, if that makes sense. So the chairman is the head of the board. And so you'll see some people that have like a chairman title, but really they're just kind of like living life. You know what I mean? Just like posting or whatever.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, is he just like chilling now, or what does that even mean?
Yeah, definitely not. But some people just kind of ride that direction, and really they're like, all right, sweet, I'm out, but this is a way for me to still see, and that's a lot different than what we've got set up at Keyglee. So anyhow, that's the conventional. Ours is a little bit more mixed. I have more involvement probably than what would be the normal conventional divide. But the other thing too, though, is balancing, because Hunter's a very capable leader and really skilled. And so there's also a balance there, because if you've got 2 people that are supposed to be leading at the exact same level, then you get a lot of confusion in the ranks, right? And that's also really not ideal. And so there also needs to be a clear separation of like, dude, this is Hunter's domain and he owns it. So just there's a balance between those two as well, which is, yeah, honestly, it's been
also just curious, where is Jamil in this? Is Jamil just kind of just like the poster child at this point? Like, I'm curious if what his job role is. I mean, I know he's a founder, so he owns like but I'm just curious. Like, now that I have you.
Good question, man. So he is the chief of business development, right? And so business development is new business and growth of the company, right? And so that's heavy on the marketing side. It's heavy on the recruiting side. It's heavy on bringing in resources and high-level relationships that allow the company to move forward. And so he's got a very external focus, right? Which honestly, bro, I think is like okay. Everyone has different giftings, right? Jamil is just incredibly talented in that arena, right? And so if there's, certain relationships or strategic partnerships, things like that we need to bring in, Jamil he's all over that stuff, right? So he is kind of out front of the company, blazing the trail through relationships and growth, right? And then on the flip side of it, right, and obviously that growth aligns with the CEO's vision. And then on the flip side of it, we're managing, right? And Hunter heads up managing the actual entity, right? And supporting that growth, if that makes sense. So
no, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. All components we're super blessed, dude, in that they flow together really nicely and we all work together exceptionally well. And it's been a that's for sure. And it's also just been a really great, I was going to say like cocktail of ingredients that's really allowed us to succeed and do well. So
I love it. I mean, guys, how many wholesaling companies do you guys know have a chairman? I'd say none. I don't think I know a single wholesaling company that has a freaking chairman, right? So like, this is the caliber of like corporate professionalism we're dealing with now with like Keyglee and like this man who's created like a beast of an empire. So I'm humbled to have you on here. Love you, dude. First mentor. He helped me do with the double closings at the beginning. We were joking about it, I think, at the very beginning of this podcast.
Dude, one shout out, bro. I have to give you a huge shout out too, though, because one thing that like Jonah, you're freaking phenomenal, like world class at is like, it wasn't, some people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do Astro Flipping. And then they kind of like are a little here, a little there, right? They watch some of the videos. Jonah was like, dude, you were on like every call. You were like, bro, I'm bringing my A game. You always got your time. You slid in to get your questions answered, right? You always asked good questions and you stuck with it. You're like, all right, cool. I understand that, but what about this, right? Like, what about, here's the nuance in my situation. Can you help me with that? And honestly, dude, that is effort on your end, right? Which led you to be successful. You know what I mean? And so, and to really crush it, bro. So like, kudos to you, bro, because you bought your own ticket, man. Like you're the one that paved your own way essentially in going after it and getting what you needed, which was,
I love it. I don't understand how people don't do that. I mean, it's like, oh, okay, I get a chance to talk to these guys every week to figure out my wholesaling business. Amazing. Done. I'm going to be there every day. But anyways, enough of my past. We're here to interview you. So in terms of, I want to go back way back in time to Josiah. He's just starting to get into real estate. He's just starting to get into wholesaling. Josiah, what was like your greatest fears when you were just starting out? Like, what were the fears you had to overcome that you were dealing with when you were starting in real estate?
Yeah, dude. So honestly, kind of a few, bro, or kind of a lot, honestly. I can think of two like distinct instances that kind of spell them out. One is like, I was just afraid of calling anyone, bro. Cause like I was 17 at the time, right? So in my mind,
oh damn, you started at 17.
Yeah. So in my mind, bro, like I was legitimately scared to call, like if I had to order a pizza, bro, like I wouldn't do that because like in my mind, those people were like adults and I was this kid, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so like, I literally, bro, was scared, like if I had to call Papa John's and order a freaking pepperoni.
Okay.
So there was that, dude. Like as far as having to have communication with someone else, I felt just basically entirely unqualified in every possible way, kind of, right? And so I think that was being on the phone with anyone was a ginormous fear. I was also the guy like in high school, bro. Like I didn't freaking raise my hand. Like I didn't talk in class. Like I remember, I think I talked like 2 times in all of high school, and I distinctly remember both times. And it's because I got called on. You know, it wasn't like I raised my hand. It was like the teacher's like, "All right, Grimes, you're talking." And I'm like, "Oh crap!" So,
right.
Dude. So, and that's where I was at 17. You know what I mean? Because that was all I hadn't overcome that. You know, I hadn't overcome that fear of talking in the classroom or anything like that. I didn't call people on the phone, and so that was one huge fear. Right? It was like, holy crap, I'm gonna just make myself look like a buffoon trying to talk to people. And so that was one. And I've got a story for that too. It was hilarious. basically my mentor at the time, who's Cody, and Cody asked me to call
Cody Sperber.
Sperber, yeah.
And
so
Cody, interesting. Wait,
yeah,
how'd you meet Cody Sperber? I'm like curious.
Oh yeah, so the way I went to this pitch-a-thon, right, which is basically an event where they have one person go up for an hour and talk about how much money they've made, more or less, and then try to sell you something at the end. But I was 17 and I didn't know that that's what this was. It was just like one person tries to sell you, then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, right? And the person hosting the event that got everyone there takes a portion of the money made, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times like 50%. And then all the speakers come and speak for free because they're just there to sell their stuff, and then they make the other 50% of whatever they sold.
Right.
So I didn't know that. I was just in the audience like, man, this is legit, like getting sold over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So like,
right.
All right. And so anyhow, one of the guys that was on stage pitched wholesaling. And he was like, in real estate, you can take $10 and you can make $30,000. And I was like, $10. And bro, I didn't raise my hand to ask questions or anything when you were supposed to ask questions because that wasn't me yet. So I just waited till the very end and I went up to the guy and I was like, hey, really quick. Hey man, so you said like $10 to make $30,000. I'm like, I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like I want to have rentals at some point because apparently that makes you money at this point. That's what my brain knows. Only you need a ton of money in order to buy rentals. So I don't know how that's going to happen.
Right.
And then I've also got other people telling me like, you don't want any debt. So to me, like buying a rental is impossible, bro, because it's like, I got to save up 300 grand to then make $1,000 a month. Yeah, exactly. Dude. It was hilarious. Good times. And so the guy's like, no, like $10. I was like, what the heck? So anyhow, talking to the guy that cuts my hair, okay, which has since retired, which is why, if you ever wonder why my hair always looks a little jank, it's his fault, bro. You had to God blame.
It looks
John
great,
Crawford.
dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Some of the best hair. You're only competing with Ryan Pineda. That's bad.
Oh, dude, it's impossible.
That's about it.
That's
awesome. About it, though.
Thank you, bro. But so I went to the guy who cuts my hair. And I told him the story, and I was like, "Have you ever heard of anyone that's done that before?" And he's like, "Yeah, actually, I cut the hair of a guy that does that all the time." And so anyhow, it's kind of interesting how God opens doors, bro. Because like, dude, I didn't want to do real estate. Like, I wanted to make money online where I didn't have to see the other person and I'd have to talk to them and I didn't have to risk anything like looking stupid. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have to risk any of that and somehow I could magically make money. God was like, bro, listen, that's not a real thing. And I'm going to give you an opportunity and an open door in real estate. I was like, oh crap. So anyhow, long story short, dude, Cody just launched like a social media real estate thing. I got in there. I ended up buying his course. I ended up bugging him a whole bunch. Yeah, the Clever Investor. Like I can't remember. It was like the very first version of Fast Track or something like that. And it was like $1,000. And so I bought that, watched the whole thing, reviewed it for Cody and stuff. And then I went out and bought some Cody gave me a call and said, hey man, you like, what? And this was cool. Like Cody he just launched the course. So he was calling people and he called me. He said, hey man, what do you think of the course? I was like, I really loved it. And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you some next steps. What you should do is you should go down to the auctions and you should find someone that you can just work for free to learn the business, right? And on my side, I was two things. I was kind of like, well, dang, bro, like crap, I just bought a course and I gotta go work for someone for free. So there's a little bit of that. But then there was two, which was, dude, I was not normally the guy that would do this, but just kind of rose up in me a little bit. And I was like, I might as well just ask, dude. And I was like, well, could I just work for you? And Cody's like, no. I was like, Frank. I was like, all right, never mind. So I was like, all right, okay, yeah, I understand. It's all good. So then I ended up buying like $250 worth of bandit signs.
Wait, did you ever ask him why he said no? I'm curious why he said no.
I think he had an intern or something at that point.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like a 17-year-old dude that was scared to call the pizza shop. You know what I mean? So like, there's also gotta weigh that too. But I basically then it was like, I don't know, a little while later, I sent him this text and I said, hey man, I bought a bunch of bandit signs. I'll put them out wherever you want for free. Just if I can learn. So anyhow, from there, I ended up being the God hooked it up, bro. Cody's like, all right, dude, it's your shot. I'm gonna give you your shot, right? I was like, all right, let's do this. And met him for lunch. Then he sent me this property in Maryville, like this house that smelled like it was just hilarious, bro. It's a great time. And he's like, you got to rent to own this. Like, you got to sell this like rent to own, basically, or whatever, or bring me a client that will. Lease option and rent to own this property. And I was like, okay, all right. So I put out like a handful of bandit signs. My very first phone call, dude, which I was just like like super. I was like, all right, Grimes. Bro, I'm at my mom's music school.
Can I just say that sounded like you practiced that almost, that gulp. That gulp was like
Dude,
no stops with the
I was a
gulp.
straight throwback, bro. That was it. That was the real thing. Okay. But
Love it.
I'm like pacing around at my mom's music school, just like, because like this guy called and my heart's just like, dude, it was hilarious, bro. Like if you looked at my cortisol levels that whole day, it must have been like through the roof. This guy calls. I pick up the phone. I don't even know what I said. Anyhow, he's like, yeah, I want to see it. I was like, okay, cool. So I go out there. I'm driving my dad's car out there, right? And wearing like the only collared shirt I have. That's not my school uniform, or my old school uniform. And so we show up at the house and we walk through. And Cody had given me one line. He's like, after they've looked at the house for a little while, if it seems like they like it, say, do you want to see what this would look like on paper? And so after a while, dude, them just walking through the house, I was like, maybe this is the time I bust out that line.
So, you had no idea what that meant though, like what that entailed whatsoever. You're just say it.
Like, bro, I just knew I had one line, okay, and just if they were walking around the house for a while, say that. Other than that, be as nice as possible. It was good, dude. It was good. So anyhow, long story short, they signed, and then Cody was like, all right, you got an internship. So that was kind of my segue to one meeting Cody, and then
wait a minute,
opening the door for me.
Cody, so you did end up working for Cody?
Yeah, so I did. No, he told me no.
Oh, okay.
And then I bugged him over text and said, hey, dude, I've got bandit signs I just bought. I'll put out for you for free. And so that was that's
a wild story. I love it. And I just love that story because it's so, what do you feel like in that moment got you over it? I mean, I understand there's a lot of people can think that, especially younger people, like 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, even what made you just say, screw it, I'm doing it?
Dude, so there's
we're making this happen.
There's 2 points. One, I was in front of my computer watching the training stuff, right? Before I had an internship or anything. And I was like, I just spent $1,000 and I was like, what's going to make this different? Because at that point I'd want to be an entrepreneur forever, basically. Right. And I tried a bunch of little businesses and they'd failed or not started or whatever. And a good chunk of them were just straight up terrible ideas. And then, or I sold like one thing and then I got distracted and quit or whatever. I don't know. Right. But I was like, what's going to make this different than everything else? And I was like, and he's talking, Cody in the training was talking through, you're going to make phone calls and this is what the script's going to be like. And I just kind of had this moment where I said to myself, and I was like, you know what? I'm pushing through this. Like that's it, dang it. I'm doing it. Like I'm pushing. Yeah. I'm going to just do it. Right. And the thing is, that's really cool, man, is like the biggest cure to a phobia is exposure to that thing. That's the biggest cure. So like, if you're afraid of elevators, guess what you got to do to get over that fear? You have to get close to an elevator and then closer and then in it and then ride it. Right. And then the fear's gone. Right. And that's how our comfort zone works. Right. Our comfort zone encroaches on us unless we're pushing it back. Right. Which is why, like, I think it's the demographic. It's something like middle-aged women that are married to executives. Right. Or that have that are basically stay-at-home moms or aren't working. Right. Married to executives. So they're likely to have a pretty comfortable life, are the most likely to develop phobias. Right. Like irrational fears of spiders, parking garages, airplanes, elevators.
It's because they're not pushing at all, right?
Yeah, exactly. So your comfort zone will encroach on you unless you push back. But what's cool is when you start to push back, it grows. It grows pretty fast, right? So like I had a friend that was kind of claustrophobic, and there's this tunnel where he lives, basically, right? And it's this long tunnel. And so he would always avoid it. Right. Because when he would start to drive into the tunnel, like his heart would beat up and he'd start to have like almost like a panic attack. Right. And so he'd been avoiding it for years. And then I can't remember if he read a book or what happened, but basically the whole bit on, dude, exposure is what solves the phobia. Right. Exposing yourself to it over and over again. Well, then it gets easier and easier and easier until it's well within your comfort zone and you're good with it. Like I could talk to a cash buyer right now. It doesn't bug me. I can call a million pizza guys. That's not gonna bug me anymore. Right. And so he's like, I'm going to drive through this tunnel. Right. And so I think the first time he went through, he had to ride with someone because he thought he might just crash or some shenanigans. Right. But he was like, I'm going to drive through this tunnel once a day. Right. And he did it for a month. And at the end of the month, he could drive through it himself. No problem. And so it cut like 30 minutes off of his commute. You know what I mean? And that he had for years. And really all he needed to do was expose himself repeatedly to that phobia. And now he's conquered it instead of it conquering him. Right.
I love that.
yeah, so pretty neat, dude.
I love it. I mean, like that's a very similar thing to what I say to people, which is basically the issue, or at least how I've thought about it, is the issue is that you have the fear in front of you instead of behind you, is what I've always thought about it that way. It's like in the way that like a lot of people, the issue is you have the fear of cold calling, let's say, or getting sworn at over the phone, right?
Yep.
And then like that's in front of you, so it's preventing you from doing action. While what you really should be focusing on, probably maybe this isn't the healthiest thing, and maybe this isn't like I'm not a mental health expert. This might not be what you should do.
I know, yeah.
But I thought of it as like I need to. What about the fear of if I don't do it? Like what's going to happen? I don't know what
that's good.
My camera right
that's
now.
Good.
But like having the fear behind me of like what happens if I don't do this? How much money am I going to lose? Am I going to be able to support myself, support my family, retire my parents? And then that fear pushes you forward. I don't know if this is healthy because you're still afraid, but like that's how I thought about it.
Realistic,
and that's
I love it.
I mean, like to me, like it was just like the way where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna push through my fears because like I'm more scared of this demon than the one in front of me. And so I don't know if it's as healthy as yours. I kind of like yours more, but yeah. So basically, anywho, these are just two different ways. So obviously, eventually, though, you learned that you really don't need to cold call anybody. You can just cold call agents or like do it through wholesalers, right? Because that's what Keyglee does is they're dispo wholesalers and they work with agents a ton. How did you learn about this strategy? How did like, let's talk about like, because it sounds like you were doing direct to seller for a little bit and then you somehow switched to dispo wholesaling. What was that?
Yeah, dude, direct to seller. Yeah, dude. So we had started like direct to seller was kind of the default, right? Most people were doing some form of direct to seller. And honestly, bro, it was like a match made in heaven in a sense. And I somehow just lucked out and got to sit in the middle. Okay. That's basically what happened.
Okay.
I'm serious. So you've got Jamil on one side, right? Who's also working with his sister Rahima. And Jamil is just bringing in deals left and right on the acquisition side, right? And extremely talented working AC wholesalers, right? We use AC wholesalers in the course so people can understand it, but basically wholesalers that are focused on acquiring properties. Right. And so he was just better than anyone I'd ever seen, bro. Like just like so good. And so he was really great at building those relationships and then having them bring him property. Right. Same with agents, same with wholesalers and just suppliers in general. He was really phenomenal at that. And what was amazing about that is it then skipped the part where you had to go out and market. You know what I mean? Because conventionally speaking, especially at that point, like you'd spend $5,000 in postcards, you'd get 20 calls. 2 are actually decent calls that want to sell their house. You go on 2 appointments. Neither of them want to sell for what you need. You work on one for 3 months. Finally, they sell to you. And then you've got 10 days, your inspection period, to sell that property. And if you don't, you've wasted your $5,000. And if you do, maybe you make 15 and you actually net 10, or you make 10 grand and you net 5. Right. But it took you 3 months to get your $5,000 back. So then you deploy your $5,000 to marketing again, wait 3 more months, and congratulations, you've made like 35 or 40 grand in a year. You're like, that's, it's like, that's and so basically by going direct, right, he cut all of that out and it allowed his volume to increase dramatically. Plus, instead of just working with one seller, he's working with a supplier, with an agent, and that can continue to bring him deals. And so that was the first thing. And Jamil was like the master on this end, right? Just crushing that. On this side, you've got Hunter, who really laid the foundational groundwork for all of the tech and stuff that we use on the buyer adding side of things, right? And really, really going deep on how to add a high amount of buyers and then develop strong relationships with them. And so I was just sitting in the middle, right? And like the thing that maybe I brought was I had some pretty good sales chops, right? So in between properties coming in and then Hunter building this phenomenal list, Hunter and I were both focused on the sales side of the process, right? And then also a little bit vetting the deals on the front end here and there and whatnot. But basically we started creating this little cycle where it was like, dude, we got deals coming in on autopilot and we've got a huge buyers list that's absorbing them. And so it's like, bro, let's just keep doing that.
I love that.
This is great. And so we put a framework around that and SOPs and all that fun stuff. And then that's what became the nucleus or the core of Keyglee.
And then you've got a $100 million company, guys. Simple as that.
Yeah, dude,
why doesn't everybody have one?
Oh my God.
Come on now. My man, you're amazing. You're a beast. I appreciate you so much. We're going to do next week. Next week, we're going to be back on our normal time, guys, 6 p.m. MST. Guys, Josiah is amazing. Josiah, is there anything you want to like promote or anything you want to like, you want people to go to or like
Dude,
maybe who send you deals at a certain place or have an email or
just
I don't know.
Follow Jonah's channel. Okay. Dude's stud muffin. Love him dearly. He's awesome. Also, bro, the little intro to this podcast, I'm just saying, thanks, fire. Okay.
It is. My social media manager did. My man, just again, you are a special human being. I love you so much. You always get me pumped up. I'll keep saying this to you. I've said this to you before. You gave me the let's freaking go. Like, let's go. Like, I do that with my team all the time now.
Love it, dude.
Whenever anything happens, whether it's good or bad. Because I literally remember you doing that to me when something would happen that was like somewhat good, right? Like I got something under contract and you're like, let's freaking go, even though it's like 50K above what it needs to be, you know, right? Like it doesn't matter. I learned that from you, so I appreciate that little nugget. That's one of the best ones I got.
Awesome.
All right.
Appreciate you, bro.
I love you, dude. I will see y'all next week.